Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to take a brief look at how to install our CentOS server. This video assumes that you have been working a little bit with your Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager and are familiar with setting up a virtual machine. I have allocated 2 gigs of RAM and 2 CPUs to this particular virtual machine. I encourage you to decide based on the resources on your host, laptop, or desktop, what makes the most sense for you. In addition, I have went ahead and allocated a 20 gig hard drive for this particular virtual machine. And again, all of these can be seen under the settings. So just right click on your virtual machine and you can go through, for instance, look at the settings for the system, display, storage, and then so on. Now, at this point, I am ready to start this particular virtual machine. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. We're just going to quickly walk through the server installation for our CentOS server. So let's go ahead and boot it. And again, we're going to be prompted by this auto capture of the keyboard, and then prompted to insert the DVD. Now, again, there's a couple of different ways that we can go about doing this. I prefer to just let the wizard do this. You can also do this in the settings, but this is essentially a one-time boot. So we're going to mount and then retry boot. And it's going to walk us through now the CentOS stream install. So rather than wait on the automatic boot timeout, just go ahead and hit enter. And then just like on the client, if you are sure that your ISO is not corrupted, then you can simply escape out of this disk check by clicking in the window and hitting the escape. Now, at this point, it's going to load some additional files for the UI installation wizard. So this will take just a few minutes for it to launch, or rather a few moments. We can go ahead and close out the notifications to give us a better view of the screen. And then in just a second, we should get our UI. All right, there we go. Nothing like a little awkward pause for a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and again, just simply select English as my default language. I'll encourage you to possibly play around with having an alternate keyboard, alternate languages as well. We want to select our installation destination. That is, again, that 20 gig hard drive that we did similar in our client. You can go ahead and select done. For the installation source is going to be the local media. And then for the software selection, this is where we're going to do it just a little bit different. Now, I would encourage you to, again, look through some options here. We're going to go ahead and select file and storage server, FTP server. We can go ahead and see if we can get around to a mail server. Things like network server could be interesting for us to look at, particularly things like a DHCP. Again, since this is going to be a virtual machine that's going to be sitting on a private network, you're not too terribly worried about exposing any of these services to the internet. So this is a great opportunity for us to just simply play around. And at this point, then what you can do is you can take a look and see what other tools you might want to have, perhaps your development tools. We could, for instance, do RPM, Red Hat Package Manager development. You can select the scientific support. And again, this is the whole reason why we choose a 20 gig hard drive for our virtual machine, so that we have some room to play around. In addition, we're going to be downloading and installing our own web server. Once you have selected the options that you wish to work with, you can hit done. And we need to remember to go ahead and set the root password. And again, in this particular case, we're going to keep the password reasonably simple because this is not going to be publicly facing, or it's not going to be in a production environment. If it was, then obviously you would want to use a good, strong password. Again, we're going to leave these two checkboxes unchecked for now. Hit done, and we need to go back through. Apparently, I didn't click on this. There we go. And the wizard's pretty straightforward. Does it make sure that you have all of the basic things covered with respect to your installation? At this point, I'm going to select begin installation, and then we will come back in just a few seconds and reboot the machine, and then we'll be ready to use our server. And again, remember that we're kind of stuck inside of this UI experience here, and that's that mouse pointer integration. So if you do need to leave this window, just simply hit the right control key if you're on a Windows laptop, and then you can move your mouse around freely. All right, so welcome back. Hopefully your installation went smooth. We can go ahead and reboot our virtual machine. In this case, this is our virtual server. I'm going to go ahead and keep this video going for a little bit, even though it's going to take a little long. We're going to go ahead and log into the server for a little bit of variety. We are going to create our account, and then what we will do is we will go ahead and add it to the wheel group, much like we did with the client, and then we will end this video by kicking off the Yum updates just as a refresher. So again, we're going to get our first use wizard in just a second that will allow for us to create an account. You'll also notice here that we're still dealing with this small screen issue. We again will cover that in a later video. I'm going to go ahead and try to give ourselves just a little more room here in this window. And then again, for a little bit of variety here, I'm actually going to have a little trouble with my mouse there. There we go. Go ahead and click Start Setup. We're going to turn off our location services, skip the online accounts, and then again, I'm going to create a local account using my name and the email address, or the Gmyers portion of my email address. All right, then we can select next, set a decent password for this account because this is the one that we will be using most often. And then we can simply go ahead and start using a CentOS stream. Now, we're going to get a tour or opportunity to tour CentOS. We'll encourage you to consider doing that. In this case, just to keep the video short, I'm going to select no thanks. And then the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and log off of this virtual machine. And I'm going to log in now as root and add my Gmyers account to the wheel group, which will allow for us to run as an admin using sudo. So you want to select that the account is not listed, enter in root for the account name, enter in the password for root, and then as soon as the desktop comes up, we will select our console. You should note the reminder again up top that you are logged in as a privileged user, something that we do not want to do on a regular basis. We're going to simply run our user mod -a-g. If you would look at my earlier video for an explanation of what this command does. And we want to add to the wheel group my Gmyers account. Again, there's going to be no success, no prompt back to the user that indicates success. What we will need to do is we'll simply need to test it. Again, sometimes you'll have, until we install the mouse pointer, or excuse me, the guest machine guest editions, you'll have some weird behavior with your mouse. In this case, just hit the right control key on a Windows machine, But ultimately, we want to log back out as root, and then now log back in as G. Myers. And so I can now log in here. And again, what we're going to do is much like we did on our client, we're going to go ahead and kick off the Yum updates. Now, again, we'll talk more about Yum in later videos, but essentially it's a package manager that allows for you to keep your packages up to date on your CentOS installation, as well as install other features. But more importantly, you can't do that as a regular user, so you have to prefix this command with sudo. Again, I'll leave some links for what sudo and wheel are in the comments section for this video, but we're going to run yum-y, which simply confirms all the updates, and update, and it will the first time remind you of the responsibility of running as root and that you can make system level changes. At this point, and whenever you run sudo, you're going to be prompted for your password. Unfortunately, it doesn't show you the password, or rather fortunately, so you're going to have to take it by faith that you have entered it in correctly. Hit enter, and if you've done that correctly, then you should start seeing the updates being downloaded and subsequently installed. Now, this is going to take quite a while. I would encourage you to do this on a good, stable internet connection. And you will also want to do this periodically. Again, we're on our server. Hopefully, you've already done this. This should be your second experience. You should be working with your client as well. But hopefully you found this video useful. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.